Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM, AM 630. WMAL.
7:07 on the Morning Majority. Greece still having some issues. I know you guys are surprised to hear that.
No, I'm shocked.
Yeah, every time we sew that one up, it's not really sewed up.
It's never stayed sewed up.
We have NILE Gardiner with us of the Heritage Foundation Foreign Affairs Analyst. How you doing, Niall?
Doing very well. Thanks very much.
So what's the status right now? Greek leaders forming a new government. Does that mean Papandreou is still around? What's the status here?
Well, it's unclear if Papandreou is actually going to stay around. He's talked about staying on with a coalition, a unity government. I suspect that he's on the way out. I don't think his position is particularly sustainable, nor is the position, frankly, of the Greece economy. So we are looking, without a doubt, at a rather big Greek tragedy on many levels, which is certainly going to affect the United States, the whole of the European Union as well. And there's even talk this morning now of Silvio Berlusconi resigning in Italy over the Italian financial crisis. So the financial contagion certainly is spreading across Europe. This huge sort of bailout package announced grandly by the European Union a couple of weeks ago really isn't having the desired effect.
All right, so give me the answer to my favorite question. Why do I care? Why should I care about all this?
Yeah, I think, Americans should be very concerned about the financial collapse in Europe because of the huge amount of trade and investment between Europe and the United States, and not least because President Obama, of course, has been following a lot of the failed policies that European governments have been following now for many years, if not decades, in some countries like Greece, for example. Very heavy overspending, huge amounts of borrowing, highly interventionist economic policies, a large amount of business regulation, high taxes. Look at Greece today, and you could be looking at the United States 5-10 years from now, frankly, if the U.S. continues down the path that Europe has been taking.
What are we seeing the demise of the European Union in front of our eyes right now?
I think we're certainly seeing the unraveling and possible collapse of the European single currency. We are also seeing potentially the entire collapse of what is called in Europe the European project, the process of ever closer union, European integration. I do think the European Union as it currently stands as some sort of blueprint for a European superstate is certainly collapsing.
All right, we saw in our country after the economic collapse in 2008 and then moving forward with the stimulus, there was a push to the right with a Republican Congress and a conservative Tea Party Congress or a Republican taking shape here in our country. And in the UK, we saw that as well, moving a little bit to the right as well. Will we see the replacement of the Greek government? Is that going to move to the right? What about in Italy? What about other countries where they're having major economic problems?
I think that, you are going to see a shift to the right in some European countries, but bearing in mind, that the kind of conservatism that you have in Britain and the United States is very different to what Europeans would generally call conservative or right-wing. So if you're talking about sort of Reagan-Thatcher-style conservatism, yes, you'll see that in parts of Europe, but you won't see it in many other parts. I think it's going to be a very mixed bag. In Greece, you have both the extreme left and the extreme right in politics there. It's very hard to say what's going to happen in Greece, but one thing's for certain. I think you're going to see Greece exiting the euro very shortly. You are going to see the unraveling of the European single currency. And you're going to see the European project as a whole starting to collapse bit by bit, because the whole European setup is simply unsustainable after decades of overspending by profligate European governments. You are going to see an almighty financial collapse, I think, across many parts of the continent. That's going to have an impact on the United States. And let's face it, Barack Obama is going down that same course today.
Right.
And unless the United States reverses course, what you see happening in Europe could happen here.
We're talking with NILE Gardiner, foreign affairs analyst with the Heritage Foundation. So if Greece goes back to its own currency and gets away from the euro, doesn't that put them in worse shape than they are now? I mean, don't they become basically Zimbabwe? I mean, their currency won't be worth anything, right?
Well, there's no doubt about it. I think that the future is hugely uncertain for Greece at this time. But I think there are many in Greece who argue that remaining in the European single currency is unsustainable. I think they're right. You will see a return to the Greek drachma, I would presume, but at least this gives Greece the opportunity to make its own decisions as a sovereign nation. And the European project, I think, has been fundamentally undemocratic. And I do think it's important that European nation states retain their national sovereignty. And in the case of Greece, it's impossible to do so within the European single currency. And I do think that it's only right that countries like Greece shape their own destiny in Europe, because for many, many decades, I think that Europe has been moving away from democratic accountability, away from democracy, and at least if the Greeks do leave the European single currency, they will have the freedom to shape their own destiny and their own economic policies.
Well, change topic real quick. I want to just ask your thoughts about what's going on right now with Iran's nuclear program. There have been a flurry of stories of late suggesting that Israel is preparing to take a unilateral strike or practicing for that possibility. What do you read into all this reporting?
Well, I think we should be extremely concerned about the situation in Iran. According to the IAEA report, Iran is very, very close to acquiring nuclear weapons capability. In fact, far closer than I think the Obama administration has been claiming in the past. And there's no doubt about it. And we could be facing a nuclear-armed Iran within a very short period of time. That is simply unacceptable. Israel, of course, faces a very direct, real threat from the Iranians, who have threatened to wipe Israel off the map. And, of course, Israel has every right to defend itself. And if the Israelis decide to take whatever action is necessary against Iran, we should certainly support that.
All right.
Thank you, Niall. We appreciate your time very much.